Nearly 4 years ago, Chevrolet took an iconic nameplate and transformed it into a mid-engine supercar with near supercar performance without the price tag to match. Well, Chevy refuses to let the C8 stop there, and that's where the Z06 comes into play. So the question I want to answer today is, where does the Z06 differ versus its little brother, which already offers spectacular performance? Well, today we're going to find out. So it's crazy to believe that the C8 Stingray is quickly approaching the halfway mark in its current iteration. And with that being said, the C8 remains one of the best performance bargains out there on the market. The amount of car you're getting for the entry-level price point is just phenomenal, and Chevrolet really hit this car out of the park when they revealed it back in 2020. Now, despite that mid-engine layout, Chevrolet kept several of the nice performance attributes of Corvettes of the past, including the naturally aspirated V8 engine and rear-wheel drive only. Now, of course, one of the sore points for many Corvette or prospective Corvette owners out there is the lack of a manual transmission. So for the C8, it only comes with the sole inclusion of a dual clutch transmission, which definitely increases the performance capabilities of this vehicle. However, being able to row your own gears is a nice aspect for many people out there who are into sports cars and performance cars in general. Now, with the sole inclusion of the dual clutch transmission, this is one of the quickest accelerating Corvettes ever produced, and in fact it does 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds, even in its base trim level. Now, the LT2 V8, which powers the C8 Corvette Stingray, is very similar to the LT1 engines used in the past. Chevrolet increased the performance of this engine and in some ways the reliability by adding additional lubrication to handle the high G-forces that this car is capable of, and of course upgraded some of the other aspects of this engine to increase the power just a little bit over the former C7 generation Corvette and that use of the LT1 in that vehicle. But as a whole, it still remains plenty powerful for the entry-level base Corvette, coming in at 495 horsepower and 470 pound-feet of torque. And this car that I'm driving right now is equipped with the optional Z51 track performance package, which increases the overall performance, handling characteristics, and track capability of the C8 even further. Now, for somebody that doesn't want to take it to the track or just wants a nice, comfortable sports grand touring car, then obviously you don't have to get the Z51 performance package. But for the money and for the prospective buyers of this vehicle, it's definitely not a bad option to add. Now, here inside the cabin, you can really feel the overall driver focus that this car was designed around. The steering wheel is flat bottom, not only on the bottom, but also the top to enhance visibility out the front of the vehicle. The entire dashboard layout is focused here towards the driver for better ergonomics and controls for the vehicle itself. And despite this being a very track-ready sports car, the magnetic ride control in this particular vehicle can stiffen or soften the suspension nearly as much as you would like to create a very comfortable on-road performance machine, while also being plenty stiff for the track duty and track use if you choose to take it there. Now, the entire C8 package really transformed the Corvette brand for Chevrolet. Those that might be shopping for a supercar or want supercar performance but don't necessarily have the full budget for one, now can obviously get a C8 at a very affordable traditional Corvette price point and get a lot of the same performance. And although the C8 might be confused with certain supercars of the past, it definitely still has the American V8 and Corvette nameplate deep inside. So as a whole, the Corvette C8 is an incredible performance bargain for the money. However, the Z06 definitely takes it up a notch. So this is the C8 Z06. So even though this isn't historically what we've heard out of the Corvette brand of vehicles over the years, it's definitely something not unfamiliar to the sports car, supercar category of vehicles. I'm sure you guys can name a few vehicles in particular from maybe some Italian brands that sound very similar to this one, and that is thanks to that flat plane crank V8 sitting behind us. The 5.5 liter LT6 flat plane crank naturally aspirated engine behind us puts out 670 horsepower and 470 pound-feet of torque. So you might be thinking, well, that torque figure is actually less than the LT2, and you're actually correct. This engine does put out a little bit less torque than that of the LT2, but the power that it delivers not only in the peak horsepower number, but also the rev range is entirely different of a small block V8. Now, the LT6 is definitely one of the most unique, bespoke, and insane parts of the Z06 Corvette that I'm currently in. Not only the way it delivers the power, but like I said, the noises that it puts off that you hear directly behind the front two seats of this vehicle. It's definitely reminiscent of other vehicles out there on the market that are certainly a little bit more expensive than this one. Now, the LT6 and the Z06 is paired to a very similar dual clutch transmission using the same amount of gears, 8 speeds. So in that regard, these two vehicles are actually quite similar, but it's just the way the engine produces the power and the overall rev range that differentiates the two vehicles quite a lot. And here inside the cabin, these two vehicles, very similar as they're both based upon the exact same platform or generation of Corvette. So the driver cockpit, if you will, is center focused right around the driver itself. The entire center console, really everything is laid out pretty much identically to that of the normal C8. Now, the Z06 does have some unique attributes as far as the chassis suspension tuning. Wheels and tires are going to be different depending if you get the Z06 or Z07 package. They'll both be stickier rubber here on the outside. And the overall capabilities as far as the aerodynamics as well as the cooling as far as the Z06 is enhanced over that of the normal C8 Stingray. So we have wider vents on the outside. The overall vehicle itself is about 3 inches wider than that of the normal C8, and this allows for more enhanced cooling not at the front end of the vehicle given the more open design of the front bumper, but also along the sides of the vehicle with the wider aero inlets. From a driving perspective, the chassis feels much more stiff. The suspension, even in its softest mode, is incredibly stiff. I would not take it out of the softest setting for day-to-day use, that is for sure. Regardless, whichever way you look at it, the C8 Corvette is the most technologically advanced Corvette ever, with a variety of powertrains that are currently available or upcoming here in the near future. But really, it is a pleasure to drive this vehicle. Like I said, a crazy opportunity, and it's just crazy to think that maybe 10 years or less, this exact vehicle that we're driving right now may no longer be in production, able to be bought brand new. So I can see why these vehicles, as time goes on, might start to become a collector's item because, well, it's just that special.